Hey everybody, this is Gokai Spartan. I'm just doing a Power Ranger discussion video. Just want to talk about Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Power Rangers Altered Universe, things of that nature. I've recently just released a video called Calypso's Odyssey. It is the story of my old mother goddess several resets ago when she was Calypso within the Greek pantheon. It is a retelling of the Odyssey, of Homer's Odyssey. If you're familiar with Greek mythology or you just want something interesting to watch, I would highly suggest you check it out. I worked incredibly hard on it and I would like for more people to watch the video. Now, moving forward, there's several things that's going to happen on this channel moving forward. We have it's officially been like a year and a half. For all the people that's been here for me from the beginning or just coming on now, I would just like to thank you for viewing, thank you for enjoying Power Rangers Altered Universe and just being here with me through this fan project. There's several storylines I have going on right now. Like I just recently did a poll whether people wanted to see like the ninjas, like Ninja Storm, Samurai, or Naruto and the TMNT ninjas. That storyline where they're in the Naruto world dealing with Rita and Queen Machina, or the Gokaigers going against Zangief, or finishing the Island of Illusions, or a new universe entirely starting from the Power Rangers 2017 movie. Now, we never really got a chance to continue the Power Rangers 2017 storyline due to the fact that the movie didn't get a part 2 and it didn't do too well because the movie only drew in Power Ranger fans. Only people like me and people that's been in the Power Ranger community since they were like 3 years old really went to go see that movie. It didn't really draw in any new fans, and the truth is, I understand why, because when people see Power Rangers, let me explain something to you. This is what people need to understand. Yes, we like to know who they are. We like to know their journeys and what they got going on at home and all that. But realistically, we want to see the Power Rangers. We want to see them suited up. We want to see them fighting. We want to see a storyline that entails their powers, their vehicles, their mechs, and their villains. And I felt like we didn't necessarily get that until like the last bit of the movie. Like the actress that they had to play Rita, she was magnificent. I did not like what they did with Goldar. I didn't. But hear me out. If you look at it in a vacuum from a different universe perspective, it's not that bad. That just changes the concept of what Goldar is. So I'll probably be working with that moving forward. Goldar in that universe being like this golden creature made of gold, and him more or less being like more like a hive villain, more like a swarm, because I can see like them fighting an army of those Goldar creatures at a certain point. But other characters would have to take place in that universe as well, because they would need other villains besides just Rita, and Rita would need monsters to send at them. So I do have a variant of Lord Zed in there. I'm probably going to use the Q Ranger monster, the main Q Ranger villain, the one Don March, the main one, because I haven't used him for anything. Because the truth is, I don't necessarily like the Don March design, because I would have been put him as a character, made him a Galactic Crash Out if I did. But when I watched Q Ranger, it was the first 4 villains that caught my attention. And then once they got to the main 3 generals that they said, oh, these are the real 3 generals, the other 3 generals were ads. I'm like, no, they weren't. These 3 are. They had this shorty with some big lips, some dude with a big nose, and Doodrip. Now, I like Doodrip in English because they just made him an idiot and whatnot. But for me, like, the Q Ranger villains that stood out to me was Iridrone, Ikagen, Madoko, and Scorpion. The rest of them, they were alright. But in the context for a Lord Zed, I'm either going to use that villain or I'm just going to create my own Lord Zed. I'll probably just do that. I'm not entirely sure where I want to go with the Lord Zed, but there's definitely going to be a variant of Lord Zed. Not sure if there's going to be a variant of Tommy, though. I'm not sure how I want to go about doing Tommy in the 2017 universe, due to the fact that we didn't get a continuation of that, and I don't know what actor to play, and I just don't want to throw someone from God in there, because I'm a Game of Thrones head, and like, Game of Thrones and Power Rangers has to have wrestling matches every day in my heart, being monitored by Ikagen and Calypso, because those two they get everything before anybody does. Like, they get, like, those two and the Game of Thrones niggas usually get, before I do upgrades, I'll handle Calypso, Ikagen, and all the characters from GOT, and then everybody else gets to get their upgrades, their civilian forms, their battleizers, and all that, just so long as I make sure my favorite characters is good first. But for the most part, I'm thinking about it with the 2017 Power Rangers, and whether I want it to be similar to how we did it in our universe or different. Because I already got other teams besides the 2017 Rangers. You're going to see them in this video, because I'm going to post several different Ranger teams that I haven't shown in the Altered Universe. Some of them are going to be in this video. There's going to be a Spider team and a Mockingbird team, because at some point, Littlefinger and Varys are going to become mentors. But that's way later on, and that's more or less in this universe, because remember, the Flawless Military manufactures Ranger powers, so like a lot of the higher ups more or less would get their standing armies as they keep on progressing through the story and the powers. But aside from the flawless military and the Rangers that's going to be there, and in that universe, which is going to be numerous, in this new universe, it's kind of going to be like a mirror. Like the Gokaigers in our universe are pirates, but in this universe they'll be Marines, and the villains might be pirates. Or like we got like a Sakura pedal versions of the Ninja Storm Rangers, where they're at Sakura Academy, where they're at the Sakura Ninja Academy instead of the Wind Ninja Academy. And just various teams just in general. There's a lot that I still gotta work on and stuff like that, which is why I wish I had a few extra hands on deck, because as it stands, it's just me doing this project. I don't necessarily have nobody I'm working with, nobody that's also making videos alongside me. It's literally just me. So it could be a little bit overwhelming when because I've already overwhelmed myself a lot. And to be honest, this is an ache that I search for, because I don't necessarily mind having all this to do, because it's a lot. But I do this because I enjoy it. I've been wanting to do something like this since I was young, since I was like 3. So now that I'm just making this Power Rangers Ultimate Universe, like for me, there's no such thing as too big, period. All I just need to do is just take my time with it, and then eventually everything's going to get done. But it would be nice if I have a couple of little extra hands on deck to help me just to build some of these other teams out for the most part. But yeah, so there's going to be other teams of Rangers that's going to happen outside of the 2017 Rangers, and that's for like the Tommy. I was thinking about doing an Evil Green Ranger arc with Vita instead of Tommy maybe, but more or less because I've already started working on the storyline with them. With the 2017 Rangers, I've already started working on something with Billy, the Billy that is in that universe. So more or less, I also created a race called the Cthulhans. I've been creating them. They were here since Starforce episode 1, but I expanded upon it more. Like that's why I low-key want people to watch the Calypso's Odyssey, because that story is integral to what's going on now in the story that's here now. But basically, the Cthulhan race was basically created because Calypso destroyed Poseidon and sent his remains into space. She did that. If you want to know why, go watch the video. But essentially, those remains into space went into a desert planet and created life, which created the Cthulhan race, in which at first the Cthulhans were like cavemen, but after a while, like, you know, they started to diversify. And it mostly happened after Zero came and destroyed that planet, because Zero was like an ancestor, like he's a Frieza race individual. He's part of Frieza's race, and what does Frieza's race do? They go around, they conquer people, they try to take planets, they destroy planets, all types of shit. So when the Cthulhans came across Frieza's people, they destroyed the Cthulhans. But little did the Frieza people know, when they left, that planet regenerated, because that planet is essentially Poseidon. And that planet is basically a god. So when that planet regenerated, its people regenerated. They became stronger. That's why the Cthulhans look the way that they do now. Because before that, they were just cavemen and stuff like that. They had the water people and the crustaceans. But when Zero forced extinction upon their planet, it basically gave them a Zenkai boost. It basically mixed God, basically him being there, destroying the planet and forcing them through that extinction, basically mixed weird powerful alien DNA with weird powerful God DNA, which created the Cthulhan race, which half of them could freaking regenerate. And they're a race of conquerors. They go throughout the multiverse. They're a lot like the Viltrumites in a way, where they're more or less a race of space conquerors. They're not all of them are like Ikage and Madoka, where they're evil. There's going to be a couple of outliers, a couple of ones that are neutral, ones that have different temperaments, and maybe a handful of good ones. But for the most part, the Cthulhans are going to be a continuous threat throughout that universe, period. Throughout that universe, along with various other villain factions and stuff like that. And I was already thinking about parallels in which I could do. Like, for instance, like, if I do something with Lost Galaxy in that universe, if I make a mirror team to them, I kind of want Kendrix to be the one in command. And maybe the team will be slightly different. And maybe for RPM, we'll switch it, where maybe we'll have Vengex be like a robot, but he'll be like a good robot and stuff like that. And Dr. K will be the one, and he's trying, and maybe Vengex can. I want to switch a swap, because I already, like, I did an evil Dr. K, but that was when Vengex and Dr. K was evil and Power Rangers Shattered Redux. I never did a situation where Dr. K was just bad and Vengex was actually good. So I might want to do something like that. The Ultimate Rangers, Chase has a team. There's somebody. Chase has a team. The Ultimate Rangers, which essentially is like Ninjetti, Samurai. I gotta get back to those Rangers. I'm gonna discuss that over with Chase, because it's really like I gotta map those powers out essentially. But then again, I do got a lot of teams to work with. So yeah. But now I just want to discuss some Power Ranger stuff real quick. Just want to discuss where I'm at with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, where I'm at with the Gokaigers, and where I'm at with the Starforce Rangers, and where I'm at with Flawless Military and the Galactic Crash Outs. So we'll start with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. With Jason, the last thing that Jason did was he freed most of the Rangers from Ikagen because they were in Hell, and they needed to basically destroy Ikagen's Heartless and free all the Rangers in Hell. And Jason had help from Tommy, Sora, Shion, Roxas, Sayax, and Littlefinger. They essentially help them free those Rangers. So now Rocky is free because Jason ended up killing Rocky when he was under Ikagen's control, and Jason felt really bad about that, so he wanted to go back to the world so he could free Rocky and all the other Rangers. So that's why he went to the underworld. And him going to the underworld, he could have literally died forever, but Hades, who's actually friends with Calypso, they go way back since the Greek mythology era. I'm telling you guys, watch Calypso's Odyssey. They go way back. So more or less, Hades helps Jason out, and that's how Jason's essentially able to get his Omega powers, because of Trini. Because the Dragon Ball taught me anything just because somebody's dead, that doesn't mean narratively speaking they are. Because people was having entirely different, the afterlife, if you play Yu-Gi-Oh, the graveyard is just the second hand, guys. So stuff be happening in the afterlife. So that's how Jason ended up getting his Omega powers. So he has his Omega Ranger powers essentially. Now when it comes to the other Rangers, like Kimberly, I want to do something with the letter, because I remember I was watching an interview with Amy Jo Johnson where she was like, I never wrote a letter. They took my man away from me. And I thought about it. I'm like, what if Kimberly never did write that letter? Which is why I essentially have her in the universe helping out Billy in the 2017 Rangers around the time from Turbo all the way to Megaforce. Because truth is, we didn't know what Kimberly was doing in there, so we could just say she was somewhere helping out another Ranger team. Like, I think. So yeah, that's what's going on. And the thing is, people, the Rangers be lying all the time. They be saying they doing one thing or doing another. Like, for instance, that peace conference stuff. What if Kimberly had her own version of that? What if she couldn't necessarily be a Ranger because she had to help out other Rangers that the other Rangers didn't necessarily know about? And by the time she got back, the Zombiak Empire was attacking. They had to deal with the offensive Megaforce. So that's what's going on with Kimberly. She wants to find that out, and to find out that information, she asks Zord Varys to do it because he's the master of whispers. He just is good at finding stuff out in general. But ultimately, we're gonna get back to the subplot with Kimberly. Now, Ming is an interesting one because she's like, you know, I wish Once and Always would have gave us a 10-part special. In fact, I would have preferred a 10-part special for Once and Always than Cosmic Fury. I could have ended that at Dino Fury and then just gave me a 10-part special for Once and Always. But it is what it is. We got Cosmic Fury, and we didn't get a Lord Zed final battle, which a lot of people ask me whether I'm going to do a Lord Zed final battle when Lord Zed is in his master form. And yes, I will, but I have to make it narratively make sense for me, because I don't just necessarily make battles just to make them. For me, it has to make sense. So when I watch this and look back at the episode, it can lead up to the fight, and I'm like, okay. Because I'm used to long-term content, guys. I grew up watching TV shows. I didn't grow up like the way the algorithm got us now, where they got us consuming these 5-minute videos and stuff like that. I don't necessarily like that too much because it's shortening our attention span. Now people are asking the question, how long is the video? For me, if the video isn't long enough, we have a problem, because like after 5 minutes or 2 minutes of me watching something, the first words that come out of my mouth is, that's it. So I'd usually make shorter content and put it into long content and put it into episode. Because what I could do is I could just put everything in parts, and then y'all would more or less get things more frequently. But for me, I don't get no satisfaction out of that, because when I press play, I want to see a whole episode, not part 1, part 2, part 3. So yeah. Now with Zach, my boy Walter Jones came out with a rap lately. They throw my shot, but they can't block it. They throw my shot, but they can't block it. But I'ma win in the end, though. And I'ma do it for my man, Joe. Nah, bro. That was fire, bro. My boy Walter out here rapping, bro. Walter out here living his best life. I remember, I think he about to do something with Afro Man or something like that, because Afro Man got a lot of popularity after he made that lemon cake thing, that lemon cake joint, because I think the cops tried to arrest him. There was something going on with Afro Man. But yeah, I think the Black Ranger, I think Walter's messing with him now. But as far as Zach now, his character, he's basically Ming's caretaker. He cares about Ming. He doesn't necessarily want nothing bad to happen to Ming, which was why he essentially tried to take away her morpher earlier on, because with Rocky dying and them not necessarily trusting the Flawless Military, because niggas like Littlefinger and Madara work for them, he didn't necessarily want her doing this Power Ranger stuff because it's become too dangerous. But after some of the crash outs started dying, the opinion kind of shifted a little bit, and especially shifted after they went to the Huntress continent. Athena turned her into stone, because realistically, if it wasn't for Terranort using the Corridors of Darkness to bring her back to the Gravestone Twins and get her out of there, she could have died. she could have died. Like, Athena could have just cracked her across the skull if they didn't have that help, and she didn't have her morphin. She wasn't able to morph. So now she's gonna have that on deck from now on because they don't want that slip up to happen. Not to mention, Ming really wants to get back at the Crash House for what happened. She just wants to prove herself in general, and she's friends with most of the Starforce Rangers. Like, it was in the Huntrix episode, and even the episode prior to that, Ming, she associates with Lucky Vaughn, Tintin, Strelitzia. If you don't know who Strelitzia is, she's Marluxia's sister. Marluxia's the dude with the pink hair and the scythe, and you gotta play a whole mobile game to find out that he has a sister, essentially. But yeah, he's friends with them, friends with Lucky Vaughn, Terranort, Thanos, Naminé, just... So yeah, Ming has friends inside the Flawless Military and stuff, and eventually she was originally going to go with the Flawless Military, but she didn't want to go behind, like, you know, Billy and them back and stuff like that, which she necessarily doesn't even need to do that now because the Flawless Military and the Power Rangers are working together right now because Galactic Crash House is a big fucking evil organization that's blowing everything up, and like, we're Power Rangers, we're also Power Rangers. Let's beat up these monsters because we can fight amongst ourselves on how we got the powers and whether Scott Tate is still mad at what happened to us during the SPD arcs, but the truth is, like, yeah, that squid demon and that green bitch with the bob cut's probably going to destroy everything if we don't stop them. So yeah, that's what's going on there. But now Tommy, for instance. Now, Tommy's in the Island of Illusions right now. And he's there because he wanted to help out the Starforce Rangers because he felt as though the Starforce Rangers didn't necessarily have any help right now because most of the Flawless Military members are on missions. So he just decided to help out the Starforce Rangers. Not to mention, like, you gotta remember that Tommy he did meet some of them. He met Naminé and Naragi earlier on. And he already knows the Starforce Rangers because he met Lucky Vaughn during the Athena arc, so like he's friends with them. And this is still the younger variant of Tommy, and even older variant of Tommy. Older Tommy, oh my god. Now, Tommy still got to get his Dino Thunder and his Turbo powers back. And his Green Ranger powers back. Because yes, he has his Green Ranger powers. That's because Captain Marvelous gave him the Green Ranger key because he decided he's not going to use it. Because theoretically, the Gokaiger can transform into Mighty Morphin and Digital White Ranger. So he just said, you know what? See, here he has White Ranger powers. Let me give him the Green Ranger key. I'll get that back whenever we're done dealing with tracking. So yeah, Tommy still has to get those 3 power sets back. His Green Ranger powers, his Dino Thunder powers, and his Turbo powers. And once he gets Dino Thunder and Turbo back, he will more or less probably look more the way Tommy looked, the way he looked in, like, I would say Ninja Steel, because that was the last time that we seen Tommy, essentially. So more or less, yeah, because, you know, we got Jason with the 5 o'clock shadow and stuff like that. I understand in Beast Morphers, he didn't come back with the 5 o'clock shadow, but I didn't like that. I want my Jason to look like a grown man, bro. He's been a Ranger for too long. He deserves to have facial hair, son. But nah, son. But yeah, then there's Billy. And right now, Billy's working with the Gravestone Twins because the Gravestone Twins need to take Qyburn out because Qyburn's wilding right now. Qyburn's over here turning Digimon into Power Ranger monsters, and he has generals and like he's making it so that weapons don't work on them. He's shutting down Ranger powers. Like Qyburn is wilding. Like when I started working for Qyburn, when I started working on Qyburn's character, which I would say would be like episode 7, 8, and 9. I realized what I had there because in the game, since Calypso kind of brought everybody back from Westeros, she wasn't really checking for morality when she did this, so even the Boltons and the Mounts and all those terrible people got came back too. Someone like Qyburn's going to look at the universe like a petri dish, and he's just going to learn and learn and learn. Remember how fascinated Qyburn was when he found that White Walker hand, bro. I feel like if given more resources and Qyburn could literally be the most dangerous person in the room if you let him. Bro, he brought back the Mountain. Nobody asked him. I mean, Cersei asked him to do that, but nobody besides Cersei asked him to do that. So honestly, I honestly think if given the correct amount of resources, Qyburn could be a terrifying foe. That's what's going on with that. So yeah, they're gonna have to stop him because because you gotta understand, before Qyburn even became a villain, he was in the Flawless Military. He's kind of working with him because most of the science people were working together. So like Qyburn, Rick Sanchez, Vexen, Zexion, and all of them, and they were all kind of grouped together. But for Qyburn, like, once Mavis decided to leave the organization because Mavis decided to dip because she turned bad because she had to fall out with Rogexion, and then Brandon Stark slid way into her head and basically told her, hey, I need you to be evil and betray your sister. And she thought she was the one thinking that she didn't even know Brandon was there. So now that's basically what's going on there. Now for the Starforce Rangers, because they are stuck in the Island of Illusions. And I would have finished everybody's Genjutsu battle. The problem was Tintin. I still haven't thought of one for Tintin. Because Tintin is such a non-character. Like, they barely give her anything. Like, I have nothing to work with Tintin at times, bro. Like, I wanted to work with characters like Tintin and Rickon, because I felt like those characters weren't given enough in Game of Thrones and in Naruto in general. So I wanted to work with them. But here's the issue with that. With Tintin, things happen around Tintin. Tintin's barely, she doesn't have no screen time. There's barely anything I could remember her character doing, any interactions I could recall. The only thing I remember was when Madara put her in the Genjutsu, she went to the world where Naruto was Minma and everybody's personalities were swapped. I could send her back there, but I don't want to do that. I don't, because I want these Genjutsus to be different. What I could do is, she could be in the middle of a Genjutsu and just have her do hand signs and release it, because ninjas can technically do that. They did that to Kabuto during the Chunin exams, where he put everybody to sleep. Shikamaru and Sakura was able to get out of that. So maybe Tintin could just get out the Genjutsu, or maybe she's just fine. Maybe she's just walking around. Maybe as soon as she got into Genjutsu, she realized what happened and she got out of it. That would save me effort for me having to actually write a Genjutsu scenario for Tintin, but I don't want to cheapen her like that. Because, like I said, for the Starforce Rangers, it was, I had to think of their personalities and what they fear most. For Lucky Vaughn, it's not measuring up to his mother. So he's going to fight against all the terrible people and just various range of threats and just various things that he's dealing with in general. And he's just not going to want his mother's help. He's going to be able to handle that. For Thanos got stabbed by MG Coin. And MG Coin owes him money, and he had to deal with the Squid Games. Squid Games is incredibly traumatic. So that just writes itself. Naminé, she was a prisoner in Castle Oblivion. She was literally forced to make a boy think that she was his girlfriend and all that. And like, you know, Larxene and Marluxia were incredibly mean to her. I wanted her to get her lick back. So that one myself. Now, for Aemon Targaryen, if you watch House of the Dragons, Aegon, Luke, and Jacaerys, they used to make fun of him for not having a dragon because they had dragons. They already had dragons at a certain age. Aemon didn't get one till late because he had to take Laena's dragon. And that basically got him into a skirmish with like Laena's children and Jake and Luke, which they cut out, that skirmish led into him getting the eye patch that he has and eventually becoming the person that he is. And in House of Dragons, I just seen the trailer. Aemon about to start wilding, bro. Like I already kind of know what's going to happen because I read the books for House of Dragons and I know how Aemon dies. He's going to die at the God Eye against Daemon Targaryen. And throwing Daemon in the illusion might be interesting because they're still on the island of illusions. Other illusions could still attack them. So maybe Aemon might have to fight Daemon in the future or some shit like that. But the point is, I just can't wait to see House of the Dragons. I just can't wait to see my Targaryens. And then Aegon talking about he want to kill his brother and stuff like that. Now, since this is a continuation and all the events of House of the Dragon were concluded by the time Starforce happens, Aemon and Aegon may have to reflect on what happened essentially. Because they came back to life, but it's kind of like they got a restart essentially. So that's what's going on with there. So yeah, him fighting the punchy pig was just simple because he doesn't like pigs and the pig turned into a dragon. Yeah, and then Helena being able to help out, and Helena basically being the one that anchors everybody together because Helena is a dreamer. They didn't do this in the books. In the books, Helena just had a daughter. Her daughter died, and then she pulled a Tom and Baratheon, and she pulled a Humpty Dumpty after that. But in the show, we don't know what's going to happen to Helena. I hear spoilers that she might die a dragon rider's death or something like that. They said that she might go against Oath, and like. That might be how she go out. Which, I'm gonna be real, I like show Helena better than book Helena because y'all actually gave her character. Y'all made her relevant. She's a dreamer. She's like, nah, that's fire. So I figured Dreams and Illusion, and Fantasy kind of in the same bracket. So since Helena's a Targaryen dreamers, and Targaryen dreamers is just another form of astral projection or telepathy, Helena could pull up and help the Starforce Rangers. Be like, hey yo, I'm sleeping right now. Whenever I wake up, I won't be here because she has dreaming powers. So she did that to help out Aemon, and she's the one that's able to talk to them, the Starforce Rangers, when they're in their illusionary stasises. I was about to say Brandon Stark. See, Rickon is this is the thing with these non-character characters. Rickon is a non-character as well, but I have way more to work with Rickon than I have with Tintin. The reason why is because, granted, things happen around Tintin and things happen around Rickon, but the things happening around Rickon have to do with his family. They have to do with Jon and Robb and Catelyn and Ned and Arya and Sansa. They have to do with that. The things happening around Tintin has to do with Uchihas and Naruto and the Akatsuki and the Orochimaru and the Leaf Village and all the other ninjas. And in a vacuum, it's more spread out for Tintin. And in Game of Thrones, it's more condensed because they're a family. Like the entire Stark family got bodied or became king. That's what happened. That's what they either died or they became king. Now that's what happened to them. So I'm like, all right, what do the Starks fear the most? The Starks are afraid of freaking dragons, bro. Like, Because, bro, on some real shit, you gotta think of it this way. If Daenerys burned everything to the ground in the canon, and then Rogexio undid everything in the canon, but they still have knowledge that Daenerys did this shit, they're gonna be scared of something like Daenerys. See, that's gonna be engraved in their history. Because Torrhen Stark bent the knee a long time ago, because he seen how big and powerful them dragons was, and he's like, oh, nah. So he bent the knee. And I would think that, yeah, that Rickon would be terrified if Daenerys were to pull up. And Daenerys has every justification to pull up, especially in my story. Now that she's getting upgrades of Dothraki, of centaurs, and she has dragons and her brothers and other Targaryens by her side. Oh yeah, she's coming. She's definitely coming. But before she comes, this was just a precursor of what's to come. So yeah. And not only that, Psycho Blue was also there. The reason why I put Psycho Blue there is because I didn't necessarily get to do Starforce Blue versus Psycho Blue fight originally when I did the Winterfell battle, because that's what was going to happen. It's just that I was confused on what I necessarily wanted to do around that arc, around that time, because I was dealing with the Winterfell stuff, and then I made an arc where Kage went to the past and destroyed Starforce Rangers and Organization 13, undid that. So there was a bunch, that was going on. But I wanted to make a battle between Psycho Blue and Starforce Blue because I wanted to give them some cohesion. Because I want the Psycho Rangers to have beef with the Space Rangers, but I want them to have different beefs now. I want them to learn to hate new Rangers. And eventually, the real Psycho Blue and Starforce Blue will meet along with the other Psycho Rangers. Psycho Rangers probably gonna be here for a while. But yeah, then there was Naragi was next. Now, the reason why I put Naragi there, honestly, was because I couldn't think of shit for Tintin. So I just said, you know what, let me just do something with Naragi, because I at least know Naragi better than I know Tintin. Naragi's a piece of shit with a gun who just likes to shoot shit. In the context of this universe, he's a redeemed piece of shit with a gun. So I'm like, alright, I can work with Naragi a little bit more. Naragi's just a better character than Tintin, in my opinion. Personality-wise, even though he's a piece of shit, I can work with pieces of shit better than I can work with nothing at all. And that's what Tintin gives me. She doesn't give me anything at all. So I'm gonna get to her eventually. And that's what's holding me up with this Starforce Lightning of Illusions. Tintin, she's holding me up. She's the one holding me up. So therefore, Naragi, they had the contact lenses from the True Blood universe, because in season 5 of True Blood, like, the humans got tired of these vampires. They were like, no, they can't keep on eating us and doing all this stuff and killing us like that, bro. They started kidnapping vampires and studying them and stuff like that. And True Blood is a part of this universe. It's just really hard to necessarily navigate, because Eric Northman is Kamen Rider Kiva of this universe. And at some point, I will get back to Eric and the True Blood things of it all. But I'm so far removed from True Blood that it's more or less an element, more or less, than they are a physical feature. Even though we will get back there eventually, I just need to navigate exactly what I want to do. I already know where I want to go with Sookie Stackhouse, because the Crash House don't like telepaths anymore. Because after what Brandon Stark did to them, they try to kill all the telepaths too. That's on their to-do list. So they might come for Sookie, or Sookie might need to confide in Rogexio, or whatever the case may be. Something's going to happen with Sookie. Damn, I started talking about True Blood and lost track. But yeah, now I remember. But yeah, that's what was going on with Naragi. He had the contact lenses that basically negated the illusions, because they upgraded the glamour contact lenses to just work on illusions in general, and they gave it to Naragi. Because if Naragi was, if I were to do an Island of Illusions thing for Naragi, he would be probably dodging those beam lasers that shoot you from the sky in Alice in Borderlands. He'd probably be dealing with some variant of Kashia or Aguni, which is why he said he didn't want to deal with Kashia or Aguni, because he knew those are the niggas that he was going to see in his illusionary battle. Now Tommy, it writes itself. It's literally Draken. Who else is he going to fight in the illusion? I mean, he could fight. Honestly, realistically, Tommy's illusionary battle could have been similar to Lucky Bonds, where he just fights a host of opponents. I could see Tommy fighting Goldar, and then it turning into Rito, and then Zed, and then Zeltrax, and like, I could see that going on for Tommy. But I already did that for Lucky Bonds, so I just had him fight Draken. And I decided, instead of him winning the battle and finding out like a way to win, like just thinking of a cheap way to get out of there, Naragi would just hit him on the head, because you're in an illusion. What if I just hit you really, really hard? Because nobody ever thought to do that, because nobody's just rah-rah like Naragi. Because Naragi's Naragi literally shoots people for no reason. So yeah, he would just knock you, he would just clock you above the head like, Broop. And then he just say sorry after. It's like, oh my bad, but you was tripping. Now Louisa was interesting. I'm gonna be real, Invincible saved me for this one, because I was lost with Louisa as well, due to the fact that Encanto doesn't give me much to work with. She's just strong, and she protects the village. She was scared when her powers weren't working no more, which is one of the main reasons she became a Power Ranger in the first place. Because after the events of Encanto, when she lost her gift, she didn't ever want to be not strong anymore. So she wanted something to make her strong and stuff like that, which Anissa feeds on that insecurity as well. All of the Viltrumites kind of feed on that insecurity, because you gotta take this into account. If you are a person that is strong, but you live in a universe where Saiyans, Kryptonians, and Viltrumites exist, and you hear about how powerful and strong they are, that's like being an alligator and hearing about a dinosaur or a dragon. Yeah, you're a big fish, but are you bigger than Thrag or Conquest or Homeland? realistically speaking, Luisa and Homelander, how would that go? I don't know, because Homelander, I don't scale him as high as like Thrag and Conquest and Anissa, because Homelander don't got no battle experience. Like, he's just pretending to be a hero. Bro, these Viltrumites, Omni-Man made me scared to take the train. But yeah, and Luisa wasn't going to get out of that battle because it's the freaking Viltrumites, man. They're hitting you so hard that you can't think of anything. You can't just think, oh, I'm going to be Infinity God, it's going to snap me away. That won't even cross your mind. You're getting your shit rocked way too hard for that to even count. You're getting jumped by Anissa, Conquest, and Omni-Man. You're not getting out of that. The island's going to take you. But now they're essentially going to have to save Terranor and Luisa. And maybe Tintin if I decide to make her lose her battle. I don't necessarily know where I want to go with Tintin. That's what's holding me up with the Island of Illusions. It's fucking Tintin. Yeah, that's what's going on there. Now for the Gokaiger battles. Alright. The Gokaiger, they're going to deal with Zangief, at least the main forces. Because I've already started making the footage for that. I was going to have, like, Littlefinger have, like, workers at, his establishment, like Littlefinger has like AI workers now because, like, you know, he's a brothel keeper, and Calypso probably like, all right, you ain't gonna do that. If you're gonna do this, you're gonna have like he basically made it so like he could just. I made a whole ass video on it. It's just that I don't necessarily know if I want to go that route with it, because they were just going to have these bots and they were just going to put a signal, and that's how the world is going to get there. But I might think of something. Better, or I might just have them just show up and start fucking shit up. Either or. Because I don't necessarily know if I want to put that part in the episode. But the Gokaigers, they're going to deal with Arceus Guild and Zangief. And I'm going to leave it at that with the Gokaigers, because I already know where I want to go with the Gokaigers. I already have models ready. I'm not going to explain what those models are, but I have models ready. Now for the Naruto storyline. Gotta get back to that eventually too. Because Rita is trying to take all of the, Rita's basically trying to be Kaguya, essentially. And Queen Machina, she wants to use those bodies after Rita's done with them to remake her machine empire. Because her empire was destroyed by Kasame. And she wants them back. And she also wants to impress Vengeance, which is why she sent Kyber to eradicate all of the RPM Rangers. Will this impress Vengeance? Who knows? Gokai Spartan knows. But who else knows? I don't know. We don't know what's going on with Queen Machina, and Queen Machina has also corrupted the Mist Ninjas, because Calypso did the same shit that she did to the Game of Thrones characters, to the cast of Naruto as well. So all the dead people from Naruto, yeah, they're back too. Yeah, guys, if there's characters that died in a story, they're not dead in my story until I kill them. Period. So yeah. If there's a whole cast of characters and by the end of the story half that roster is thinned out, yeah, that's not the case here. They're all still here until something from my universe gets rid of them, or they end up dying heroically or natural causes, or whatever the case may be. They're still here. So yes, all the Akatsuki members are here. The Mist Ninjas are here. They're all here. So yeah, now that they're all here, yeah, the Queen Machina said, yeah, I'm going to take these ninjas and make them into my 7 mechanical ninja swordsmen of the Machine Empire. And the Akatsuki, yeah, they gotta go and basically stop fucking Queen Machina, because she's in the Mist Village wilding. And Kasame's people is getting freaking turned into fucking robots. Now let me talk about the Gokaigers real quick, and then I'm gonna call it, because this video is getting a little bit too long. Now, people probably wondering who my favorite Power Rangers is. Number 1 is always a constant battle between Captain Marvelous and Tommy Oliver. Tommy Oliver was my favorite character before I liked any characters. I didn't like niggas before I liked Tommy, bro. I'm keeping it 100. Like, Tommy was my favorite person before I liked human beings, period. And then as I got older, I saw Captain Marvelous, and he's just so cool. He's so cool that I despise Troy. Like, before I used to hate Rocky. But now I don't hate Rocky, because the Boom Studios comic books made Rocky look a little bit better. He had it to me, my X-Men moment with the Power Rangers. He got the wig, Jason Shield, and he got to beat up the other robot, King Mondo's, like his rival or some shit like that. Like, King Mondo had like this rival, King Argalactic Arrogant. I don't fucking know. I'm a Game of Thrones head. That's why I said Argalact. But yeah, he had to deal with that shit, essentially. But back to the Gokaigers. Yeah, Captain Marvelous is my favorite one of all time. It's been a while since I've done stuff for the Gokaigers, because the last thing I did with the Gokaigers was against Decade. Marvelous came to help Tommy out against Kamen Rider Decade, and that's jump-started the new Kamen Riders in my universe. Fuck, I gotta get to the Kamen Riders eventually. Alright, I gotta get to the Kamen Riders eventually, guys. But yeah, the point is, I I already started with that shit. I already put Meteor up in there, and yeah, I'm gonna continue with that too. But nah, son. But yeah, but ever since then, off-screen Captain, the Gokaiger episodes have been happening. The Zangief have been sending generals, and the Gokaigers have been besting them. It's been happening off-screen while the events of Power Rangers Ultimate Universe are happening. So after the events of Part 2, that's why Guy is already there. That's what, because they already did that journey with Guy. He's already a part of the crew now. So Guy is already there. And then the voices that I use for the Gokaiger characters, because people probably wonder which ones that I use. For Joe and Marvelous, I use Sanji and Zoro, because it just doesn't feel right having Luffy as Captain Marvelous's voice, so Sanji just fits more better for me. Doc, I actually do Doc's voice myself. This is the voice that I use for him, because that's just the type of nigga he is to me. Like, this guy was lying, saying he was the strongest warrior, and then got folded by Damaris until he came back and then spit the block on Damaris. And it was a good thing that he got the shining moment. He got to spin the block back on Damaris, but he was over here capping like you was strong. We was looking at you funny in episode 42, guy. We was looking at you funny in episode 42. But my favorite episode of Gokaiger of all time is episode 41. When they have to fight Zatsurig, because he destroyed Ahim's planet. And Ahim had to basically become a Gokaiger, and Ahim being there, basically, she was the glue that kept the Gokaigers together, because there was a bunch of rah-rah, it was a bunch of crash outs before Ahim came in. Now Ahim came there, and she made them calm down and stuff like that. And Zatsuri had this weird eye on his chest. Every time he opened it, some weird Yu-Gi-Oh effect happened, like niggas was getting knocked back, their attack was getting repelled, lightning was coming out, this thing was wilding, bro. And like, bro, it took all 6 Gokaigers to beat them. Well, they had to trick him, they had to get rid of that eye. Like, the other 5 Gokaigers had to basically be human shields, while the Pink Ranger jumps in the air and stabs him in the eye. And then they was able to transform into the other forms and then body him after the fact. But that was my favorite episode of Gokaiger. Zatsurig is one of my favorite villains in all of Gokaiger, bro. Just because, bro, I like villains that did something, bro. If you got a body count, I like you. Like Ikage and Monoko, that's why they're my favorites, because the first thing Show Longbow said was their body count was over. They killed over thousands of planets. They didn't say they killed thousands of people. They said planets. So that means trillions. So nah, son, I had to make them an eldritch threat in my universe, bro, because you don't get that kind of numbers by not being that demonic, bro. I'm sorry. Maybe it was a mistranslation that they gave it to, but that's the translation that I heard, and that's the air of gangsterness that Ikage and Monoko has resonated in me ever since I seen these two. Like, bro, like, nah, they're just so cool. But yeah, back to the Gokaigers. Now, when it comes to Luca, I like Luca. Luca's one of my favorite Gokaigers, but hear me out. Luca's probably the only Gokaiger that has a Megaforce counterpart that I actually fuck with. Because I like Noah, but I like Noah in small doses. And I like Orion because I like the contrast between Orion was from space and Guy is from Earth, and the Gokaigers are from space and the Megaforce Rangers are from Earth. I kind of like that contrast. It's different. And for me, the Silver Ranger didn't necessarily need to be an otaku. He could just be from another planet, and that was perfectly fine. But here's the thing: the power escaped him, so it would escape him as well and go back to Guy. So Orion would need a whole different power set in the Megaforce Rangers, which I've already got that on file for him too. So yeah, we'll be seeing Orion again. But like I said, with Gia, because in my opinion, Gia paid her dues outside of Power Rangers Megaforce. She was in the video game. She was in that Power Rangers video game with Tommy and the Street Fighter characters. She did what she needed to do. She did a great job at it too, in my opinion. And honestly, and not only that, she came back for Ninja Steel. And she was right next to JDF. She was always, bro, in my opinion, Gia held down the franchise. Let me explain something to you about Power Rangers and like the actors that played them. If you hold down your character outside of the show, I have nothing but love and respect for you. I have nothing but love and respect for you. If you hold down that character, if you rep that shit, you like, nah, nigga, I'm Gia from Megaforce. I respect that shit. That's how Jason David Frank was moving out here, bro. Because everybody knew he was Tommy, bro. And he made it so everybody else could. All the other Rangers started going to cons and doing stuff like that. But for Gia, like, it stood out to me. So, like, that's how I feel about that Yellow Ranger. Jake is just Mike written worse scene. I don't like Jake. And Emma, I feel the same way about Emma, the same way I feel about Tintin. Like, it's just, yeah. It's just there for me. But Jake is even worse because I'm gonna be real. I don't like Jake. I like Mike. Mike from Samurai, that's my nigga. You wanna know why I like Mike, bro? Because when Emily lost her soul against Switch Beast, Mike was ready to become a Nightlock. He was ready to become a demon for his girl. He was like, nah, bro. And bro, just the Black Air Force energy Mike had about Emily was just different, bro. Jake, I'm sorry, I don't think you like Gia that much, bro. I've never seen you in a situation where you had to fight for Gia, where you had to. Nah, I've never seen him in a situation like that. So I'm sorry, I don't jack him. And his liking of Gia was just corny. I didn't like. Come on, bro. I just didn't like that Ranger. You think I don't like Troy? Oh my God, I can't stand Jake. You think I don't like Troy? It's even worse when it comes to Jake. Troy, I don't like him either, but yeah, I don't like him because you're boring. I don't like Jake because he's corny. It's a difference. But outside of their characters, I do respect the actors that played them. Like, you know, Andrew Gray, like the dude that plays Troy, because I seen him in some other stuff, and he was pretty good. And the truth is, the Megaforce Rangers wanted to add things to their characters, but the producers was like, no, this show is for kids. They don't care. I'm like, this show is not for children. This show is for adults who still watch it. I just perceive it as for children because the show is heavily marketed because of toys. But children are not watching this shit. The only people that are watching this is people that grew up with it. So when you was making that show, you weren't making the show for children. You was making the show for whoever would watch it. And that's y'all problem right now. Y'all keep on saying it's a kid show, it's a kid show, it's a kid show. Yeah, this is why we got things like Megaforce and Cosmic Fury. This is why we got things like Talk No Jutsu happening to Lord Zed instead of us combining all of our weapons and blowing him into guts. This is why we got things like Inkworth and Victor and Monty and things like that. Because it's a kid show. But I respect that it's a kid show and stuff. It's just, I don't respect corny shit. I'm sorry. I don't like corny shit. I love Power Rangers, but I don't like the corniness in it. I'm gonna call it for what it's. I'm gonna call it. The fact that y'all didn't give us a Lord Zed final battle, that's sacrilege right there, bro. Blasphemy. How dare you defeat him with words? We don't come here for words. If I wanted to see someone get defeated with words, I'd just watch Game of Thrones. I don't come here to watch niggas get defeated with words. I come here to watch niggas get defeated with blasters, with robots and superpowers. And yeah, that's basically where I'm at with it when it comes to just like the Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. That shit wasn't that bad. At least David Yost did for 10 episodes straight. That made me happy. And at least we got to see Heckle transform. At least Tarek was able to body some monster outside of the suit and stuff. Even though I would love to see Tarek get a form. Y'all should have gave us a purple Cosmic Fury Ranger. Y'all was already turning the real soldier helmets into Cosmic Fury. How come Tarek didn't get one? How come we didn't get a Void Knight Cosmic Fury Ranger? I might end up doing that, bro. Because I could make Tarek into a Super Cosmic Fury Ranger whenever I decide to get back to Super Cosmic Fury, because I could get back to them, but I have Starforce, and I like Starforce more, so I'll get back to Super Cosmic Fury eventually. But yeah, moving forward, the next episode, I don't know exactly when it's going to be out. I'm going to shoot for this weekend, but I'm not making any promises, but more or less it should be out within the next fortnight, essentially. So I'm going to call it for now. May the power protect you, Vala Magulas, Vala Tahirus, and may your heart be a God and keep, and stay out of trouble.